episode 169. A mind stretched by new experiences can't go back to its old dimension.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
Are we there yet? Welcome to almost 170th episode of the very best podcast in the world, your only source in the universe for personal supremacy through health, wealth, and happiness. Now, as always, first things first. So we're going to go to housekeeping. Sharing is caring. And so if this episode in particular perhaps resonates with you particularly, share it with someone that you hold dear, right? And perhaps there are going to be episodes in here which may not resonate entirely with you. So maybe, however, someone that is dear to you is in a situation in life where, you know, they could benefit from listening to this episode. Share it with them, right? Go to the very best, Jesus Christ, the very best podcast in the world, .com, and hit one of those, social share thingamajiggers that are under every episode and under every page and pretty much fucking everywhere. And send it to them, see how it resonates with them. And that's how the show grows for no fucking particular altruistic reason. So today we're going to talk about a stretched mind. And no, I'm not talking about, hammering yourself and experiencing an extra bodily experience here. But it's about experiences that you make and how that influences you, be it positively or negatively. I'm going to outline two examples. And most importantly, is there a way that you can provoke such situations? Now, you're probably asking, why would I want to do that? But we'll get there, baby steps. Have we had the housekeeping done? Yeah, all done, all taken care of. So, I'm emming. Got to get that away. The reason I started this episode was an image that was populated on one of my go-to websites, 4chan. If you haven't heard of it, it is pretty much the darkest underbelly of the internet, but there's a lot of fun trolling and a lot of very sarcastic humor, which a lot of people don't understand. It's largely uncensored. And one of these days, many moons ago, someone posted an internet of something very bizarre and said and had a meme style writing on it. Said, what has been interneted cannot be uninterneted. And that came to my mind when I was planning this episode, contemplating what examples, I should bring forth. But it resonated very well with the title of the show, of this episode, right? A mind stretched by new experiences can't go back to its old dimension. And nothing is more true than that, right? So perhaps go back in your memory and see if you can dig up, such a grave experience upon which your life changed. And immediately to my sense, or to my mind, not sense, but to my mind, was my first feet on the ground in the Maldives. If you haven't been there, look it up on Google Images. It's a It's really a pristine holiday destination. And I was there and worked with a hotel group for, I think, 1.5 years. And I landed, got out of the plane, and was just blown away by the climate, was just blown away by this actually turquoise water, even in the harbor on the airport island, right? So you have to imagine that the island, the airport is a fucking island, right? So the runway ends and then there's water. So, there's no room for air there. Anyhow, the landing was, by itself, you had this onboard camera, you were looking down, at these pristine beaches of the resorts that you were flying over while approaching the airport. Then you get out, totally different culture, wasn't like your Western style interrogation officers, kind of expecting you and rummaging through your passport and why have you been here, and that kind of interview question. You don't get that there. It's these laid back kind of people. They look official to a degree, but different. And so anyhow, got my suitcase, got out. It was warm, and just the first thing that I did was take a photo of this turquoise water, because if you see advertisements, you're like, this has got to be fucking photoshopped. There is nothing as beautiful as this turquoise color in combination with this pleasantly humid climate, warm temperature, sun is shining, that kind of ordeal, right? I may have to mention, to give you the fuller picture, I came from London. So my flight from London to Germany was delayed. My plan was to, come home, grab my suitcase, get back in the car, drive to the airport, and take off, right? That plan was foiled thanks to SleazyJet because they were fucking late out of, I think it was Gatwick that I flew from. Anyhow, so, I went from this London weather, this must have been October, from London weather to not very much better German weather to this pristine picture that caught my eye with, all of the colors of the buildings and the palm trees and, that kind of ordeal. Just a very, very, very memorable experience. So I had been consulting for a few years before that, right? So, but my main contracts were, in conventional destinations, like, I don't know, Paris, like London, like Berlin, like, all of these, New York, Los Angeles and whatever. Nothing really that stood out. I'm traveling from London, Heathrow or Gatwick or whatever airport to Hamburg, Germany, which was my kind of like home airport. There was no real difference, right? But getting here, this was like an experience which I will never forget and which will forever be engraved in my memory. So that being said, what's the point I'm trying to make here, right? It's when you look at the stats, you look at the crime stats, you look at the vaccinations that hot topic at the moment, the vaccinations, which are, not mandatory, but highly recommended. And, I just fucked all of that shit because after that contract, I was supposed to go back to Europe and then back to India and whatnot. So I would have pumped all of this shit into my body. And so just risked it, and anyhow, I just kind of faded that out, of reality. And things did, start to get sketchy on one occasion or the other, but the overall experience was just so fucking great and really changed my mind and opened my eyes towards, this different, very, very different and very hospitable culture. A culture which a lot of people are not really exposed to. Keep in mind, I was working there, right? So the majority of the people going to the Maldives, they're going there for vacation. That's what it's about, right? So, they get off the plane, they get whisked onto a speedboat or a seaplane, flown or boated to their resort, right? And they don't really get to know the people, and that was, something that I will always treasure, and I still, have very interesting and very deep friendships there, despite the fact that I haven't seen the folks in 10 years. Anywho, this was a positive example. Negative example was, I we had this festival in the town that I lived and grew up in, and it was, every single fucking year, everyone would come back home from every part of the planet. It was like I had people from my class who were living and working in Australia, and even they made the, I don't know what it was, treacherous 24-hour journey to get back, for this particular weekend. And so did I, right? So I was on a plane flying home, and sitting in my in the first class lounge in Dubai. I don't know where I transited from. Smoking cigarettes and drinking whiskey and, just having a dandy fucking good time. Came to my Hamburg airport, got my rental car, drove home, had a nice festival. And before the festival started, I went to see the doctor because must have been somewhere in Asia. So I would notice that my axillary lymph nodes would swell up to a degree where I would have to walk around like Arnold Schwarzenegger for days at a time. And so I saw the doc, the local medicine woman. And she was, she said, yeah, could be a variety of different issues. We're going to take some blood. We're going to draw some blood. And then we're going to go and see what's happening or what's up with the blood on Tuesday, because Monday was a holiday. Always is during this festival. Just can't think of the English name really. So anyhow, insane partying went on. Nebulous, hazy, foggy memories of that weekend exist. So it was Tuesday morning at about 11. Doc calls, and she never does. It's like we had a loose appointment Tuesday afternoon. Tuesday morning at 11, she calls. She's like, you need to come by. And I'm like, whoa. This has never happened before. So I go, sit in my, what was it, 120,000 euro rental car to drive the 700 meters to her practice, to her office, park the car, get out, walk there, and I wasn't having anything remotely related to a fucking healthy lifestyle. I was drinking, I was smoking. Those were my two main ingredients of survival, really, more than anything else. Yeah, food, you pass by it, you grab it, you eat it, not really thinking about what you're doing to your body. This was in my early 30s, right? So you're invincible, right? And come to the doctor, and she's like, yeah, hey, we need to talk about this. And I'm like, okay, you shoot. I'm on a plane out of here in 2 days. So, make it worth my while. So she goes, yeah, well, okay, look, I'm going to get down to the point. In the worst case, you're going to have cancer. And I was like, whoa, that was unexpected. But luckily, I think I was still, riding on some rest alcohol and other substances. And so I was like, okay, my first thought was, okay, look me up a clinic. I think I was in Singapore at the time. Anyhow, I said, look me up a clinic in Singapore that can treat it. Let's, do some more tests while I'm here the rest of the 48 hours. And then we will go there. And my reaction was, I just got hit in the fucking face with a shovel, right? And it was like, I didn't realize it. It was just so far away, the chance of anything like that. And I was so in the 9 to 5 working thing. No, not 9 to 5, the like 5 to 10, or 5 to 10 p.m., 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. The thing I did, I think, was posted on Facebook. It was like, life is what happens when you're busy doing other things. That famous Lenin quote, I think it is. Not Lenin. Anyhow, that was something that, I didn't realize at all. Anyhow, flew back, went to the oncologist. He said, it's awkward, but I can't find anything, so let's leave it at that. Come back in 6 months. And I was like, okay, fuck you too. I'm out of here. continued with what I was doing. And then I got on the plane, and it was like, okay, something went seriously wrong here. Let's investigate, right? And I put away my laptop for the first time ever, right? This was, I think, the time when Hamburg only had a day flight with Emirates out. So it wasn't the night flight, it was a day flight. So, I put away my laptop and I started contemplating, like, what the fuck just happened? I called the purser, said, bring me a glass of champagne. I think it's worth celebrating. And, uh, for the first time ever, I really tasted the champagne. It was such a reflective moment of that shot across the bow could have been, the terminal notice for my life. And, I just went into it, and a lot of things that I'm not going to bore you with now happened after that. A lot of remodeling took place in my life, and eventually led to the story that I think, repeatedly told here on when I decided that I'm going to quit working. And that can be a negative experience. Now, where am I going with this? I promised you, how do you provoke such experiences that stretch your mind to a degree where you're not going to go back to your old self, right? These can be traumatic experiences you don't necessarily want to provoke, but it's about really expanding your horizon. And I think on the positive example, on the first one I mentioned, it was like I saw and experienced beauty in its perfection. I came out of shitty London weather and went there. That might have been a contributing factor. But provoking such experiences in that you get the fuck out of your comfort zone. It's like maybe you've been in your job too long. Maybe it's time to resettle somewhere totally different, another part of the world. Learning to interact with new cultures. How fucking frustrating it can be when you make your first appointment with someone in the United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia, and they say, yeah, we're gonna do morning, and you're anticipating them to be there at 9, and they show up at 1 in the afternoon, maybe, if at all. That's something that you got to deal with. But these folks are made that way, right? They're born that way, and it's a cultural thing, right? If they say in the morning, it can be anything up until the noon prayers are over, right? Experiencing totally different types of food in some fucked up part of Delhi, on a food truck somewhere that you don't necessarily want to call it a truck. It's more like a trolley. But the food is just so fucking great, with the chaos, the traffic chaos happening around you, and all of the different people you get to interact with and everything. It is just such an amazing stretch of your mind. And I'm not talking about, going there for 2 weeks of vacation or even 6 weeks of backpacking. I'm talking about living there. Living among the culture, being a part of it, and if you've done that, right, once or twice, you're going to be able to pick up, totally different signals when you actually go on vacation to another country, right? You're going to be able to, you're going to be much more sensitive on how to engage with people, etc. So it's, insanely worth provoking such situations, right? Now's the time, when not ever, right? It's about, when this whole Rona thing blows over, there's not a better chance than to, kind of replan your life. You've got plenty of time now to contemplate, so it's worth the advice. So with that being said, I think everything is said. So, yeah, with that being said, I think we're gonna end the episode now. We've already, again jumped the mark that we were looking to go for, and yeah. So I hope that, what day is it? Thursday. You have a successful rest of your Thursday, and if you've already had a successful Thursday, have a good night, and we'll be in touch tomorrow when we're going to extend last Friday's exercise a little bit, about micro habits, and drilling into a little bit more detail. So yeah, until tomorrow, peace out, be safe, and we'll be in touch tomorrow, hopefully.